All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have finally made it to week one, the prime slate. We had some good games get us to today on Thursday and Friday, but today is the games we all been waiting for. We got Ohio State, Texas, we got LSU and Clemson. Even though I feel like even Alabama and Florida State might surprise us a little bit, but let's get the show started where if these picks make you wonder, am I high? The answer's yes. And we're starting to learn to fade my total picks here a little bit as Thursday we go 1-7. Yesterday 3-4, bringing us 4-11 to start the weekend. It's not exactly where you want to be. However, 11-4 to start the week on our safe picks. 6-1 yesterday. You gotta love that. And now we're gonna go ahead and get things started right away with Texas and Ohio State, right? Small spread, expecting a close game. We're seeing Texas favored here at -1.5, but I'm seeing some value on Ohio State actually at 1.5 at plus 101. Ohio State had the rank one defense in the country. They only allowed, 13 points per game yesterday, maybe even a little bit less than that. And then you got Arch Manning, who we know what the Manning name is, right? He's stepping into his first full season though, going to Ohio. Going into Columbus, that's going to be a tough week one start. And I got some chemistry issues here, even though they've been saying he's been lights out in practice, lights out in spring. But look, Ryan Day is 26-1 covering here in to start week one, and that's kind of why I'm kind of liking them to actually pull this out here and as a value pick here. But and even spread, I full on expect them to cover here. They're 10-6 yet last year to the spread, and plus 1.5. And look, that 10-6 includes 7-4, two ranked opponents. Texas only 2-3, and I feel like they're replacing some firepower here. Look, they're returning some players, but I feel like they're losing more than they're returning, and I like Ohio State here at home. However, these offenses are going to be lights out. Look, I know I said some fireworks in some other games, not happened. But 46.5 here, it's not a big number. Give me the over here. And I kind of do like the safe pick as the under 52.5 because yes, the offenses are great. They got the weapons on both sides of offensively. Like Texas got some players, Ohio State got some players. Let's not forget about the defenses, right? Let's give me an under here. Now we're gonna get things next on to Tennessee and Syracuse. And I'm seeing Syracuse some value, not Syracuse, I'm seeing some value in Tennessee actually. It's -7.5 first half. Look, they like to go up tempo on the offense. They were ranked nationally number eight, 453 yards. They tend to start hot. Tennessee actually outscored their opponents 144 to 68 in first halves last year. And Syracuse is bringing in a transfer quarterback, and I believe he's going to be pretty solid. However, give me Tennessee to start hot in this as a big value pick right here. I think it's plus 100 you could get. I like that a lot. Spread, give me Tennessee -13.5. I see them actually getting this done by a touchdown. They went 9-4. They were 6-3. I think 6-3 actually against the spread in versus non-conference last year. They got some returns on defense, and I'm gonna have to give that a little bit of the edge to what Syracuse has a little rebuilt line going on. This was 14.5. I'd probably lean Syracuse, but at 13, yeah, I think Tennessee gets this done by at least two touchdowns. I think the up tempo though on Tennessee is probably going to push this to a little bit over. I think Syracuse do get some points here. They like to go a little up tempo here too as well, and you see the over hitting at 51.5. I don't think that's actually that big of a number. And because I believe Syracuse can get some points here, I'm actually going to see 17.5 as a safe bet. I think they could keep this from getting ugly pretty quick and maybe get some late touchdowns late in the second half to do a little backdoor spread covering on that safe pick. But I still think 13.5 is pretty solid for Tennessee. I think the line is pretty right on point. We're going to go ahead to FAU versus Maryland. And both teams bringing in some new quarterbacks. I feel like this is going to be kind of a rocky offensive kind of game, which is why I'm seeing some value at the under 60.5. FAU's Cade, I don't even know how to say his last name. Is it Veltkamp? Veltkamp? He's from Western Kentucky. 25 touchdowns last year, and Maryland's starting a true freshman, which I feel like some early rust might happen, some slower paces we might see. Give me that under 60.5 as a value play because we're seeing some slower paces and freshman freshman quarterbacks kind of it's kind of hard to get going here early and I'm gonna like FAU on that spread because I see some depth that they're bringing back. They got three offensive line starters returning. They got some depth at running back, and Maryland ended on a five-game skid where they went 2-6 against the spread last season, and FAU might actually even be a sneaky kind of pick for live bettors out there. And again, I saw value at the under 16.5. We're going to take that as the total under here. And with the spread actually with FAU, and I'm seeing them as a sneaky live bet, I'm going to go ahead as the safe pick right now. It's plus 17.5. I definitely I don't see them losing by three touchdowns here or three scores at least even. I think they keep it within two scores, maybe even 10 points if you want to go to even plus 10.5 as a value play. I feel like that's a pretty solid pick. But I think plus 14.5, good value right there, plus 17.5 even more, kind of lock in if you want a sure thing. There's no sure things out here, but I think that's the closest thing we're going to get to in this game. And next on the slate, you got Mississippi State and Southern Miss. And look, Mississippi State was garbage last year. Disappointing, but it's kind of what you get out of a lower tier SEC school with a tough schedule. Look, when you go against those kind of opponents, you're gonna get hammered. It's tough night in, week in, week out when you just don't have the talent messing up with matching up with everybody. Man, I cannot talk this morning. But at the end of the day, they still are an SEC team, and I like their actual front here to overwhelm Southern Miss's line, and I see some value actually on the first quarter. It might have been line was yeah the first quarter line at minus 4.5. I think Mississippi State could lead this thing by a touchdown easy. But Mississippi State lost a lot of players to the portal, and I think the continuity issues could allow Southern Miss to actually probably sneak this game by within I think they keep it within 17, honestly, and with that kind of in mind, plus 14.5 spread is not a bad take. I really don't trust Mississippi State here with all those transfers in the portal. I just don't know how well they mesh here pretty quick. And 14.5, I could see Southern Miss taking a backdoor spread here. But safe pick here, minus 9.5. The SEC speed, the depth, the size. I think that makes a lot of difference, honestly. And I see them at least getting this done by 10. And neither offense is consistent. Mississippi State averaged 33 points a game, but that was kind of padded by some lower tier games. And I think we're going to see an under here. Under 60.5 is kind of my lean, but as again, 4-11 on my total pick. So take that for what it's worth. Ball State, Purdue. This is an interesting game in my mind. Purdue turnover, horrible season last year. They bring in a quarterback though who might actually bring some life to this offense. But I'm seeing some I'm gonna have to lean for the spread here because I feel like Ball State's quarterback, Kelly could he brings some mobility. They got some running back depth, and I feel like some ball control is going to be their play here. I don't expect them to win this game. But I feel like the ball control, if they're able to win the trenches, able to move the ball on the ground, I could definitely see a cover here at 17.5. Don't know if I would go any lower than that. 'Cause I do see some value in actually 17.5 on the Purdue side. They're, like I said, they're bringing in a quarterback and, it's a kind of a balanced scheme. I expect Purdue to look sharp at home and things can only go up, right? And going against a MAC school who has looked well and, well, it hasn't looked well. Both defenses were poor. Ball State allowed 40 plus per game last year, and Purdue was bottom five in scoring. But I feel like I feel like it's possible here. I'm not betting this game at all. I'm not betting it. And if I would, I'd probably take the over 40 and a half. But again, Purdue was bottom five in scoring. I'm not touching this game at all. What else we got? What else on the slate? I'm going to Tulane versus Northwestern. And I'm seeing some value, honestly, on Tulane 3.5 first half. Um, they bring in a BYU transfer, actually, Rasliff, and I didn't think I didn't think he knew he would be here after what happened, with BYU. But nonetheless, here we are at Tulane, and I think he's going to get things rolling here for Tulane, and he's going to get things actually rolling early. And Northwestern's defense only forced 9 interceptions, and Tulane was 9-5 against the spread last year. Do I actually see Tulane covering this spread at 4.5 for the whole game? Yes. Yes, actually, I do kind of. I feel like their defense is going to be able to lead them home, and I feel like some quarterback play here, if he was able to get up to speed with that offense in about what, a month and a half, 2 months that he was with them, things could start get clicking. However, I don't see him doing more than a touchdown because again, Northwestern, as horrible as they were, still Big Ten, right? And they bring in some new talent. They bring in Preston Stone, who's actually gonna get a shine sometime this year after being injured last year. And I believe that's actually been Northwestern's problems not having good quarterback play. And now that they got it right here, I think things could be interesting. Tulane's defense is definitely probably the thing that's giving them edge here. But watch out for Northwestern to not lose this game by at least a touchdown. Right, our next game cover here is Toledo and Kentucky. And I know money's kind of been rolling in on Toledo for some reason. A lot of people are sleeping on Kentucky, in my opinion. Because of that, I'm actually seeing some value on Kentucky minus 6.5 for the first half. For some odds, it's plus money right now. I guess they're betting big on that Toledo offense. But we're at home for Kentucky. What else? What would I got? They got a new quarterback. Whatever. I have more faith on that defense actually, and the SEC side of the ball is why I'm giving them that first half cover. They should at least be able to get a couple touchdowns here. Maybe that defense even gets a pick six here, forces some turnovers, which is definitely their strong suit of the ball. Would not be surprised if they do actually get a couple picks. The spread will lean towards Toledo plus 10 though. Just because that look, they were 6-2 against the spread last season, and that alone gives me reason to believe in them again this year. I know it's a new season, new faces, so you can't always go off of last year, but that quarterback, that offense is lights out. And I just feel like they're kind of running into a bad matchup here with Kentucky, kind of their strength being in the secondary. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a backdoor cover. Maybe Kentucky likes to run the ball here, dictate the pace a little bit, and maybe not able to get some explosive plays as they would like. Take their foot off the pedal in the second half, and we get a Toledo cover. But I feel like my big like star pick in this matchup is the under 48. Both defenses top 50 in points allowed. Kentucky only allowed 23.5. Toledo damn near the same at 24.3 points per game. They like to play slow. Again, Toledo likes to pass. Kentucky has a strong secondary, which means they're going to probably have to run more in this game. And I don't know if their front seven is actually a strength against Kentucky's front seven. So, we'll go more towards the under. I'm feeling some slow pace, some field goals maybe actually happen in this game, and the total might kind of fall in between the 45-47 area. I feel like that's kind of a safe bet. Maybe Kentucky 27, Toledo 14. Seems realistic call right there. Now we're going to go into Bama, Florida State. Don't sleep on Florida State here. No, I'm gonna sleep on them. Kind of, kind of, because I feel like Bama is going to start hot. Bama's going to start hot. Stott Hart, even with the new quarterback, that defense is still absolutely loaded. And Florida State barely scored last year, averaging just 15.4 points last year. I expect them to be way better offensively. Don't get the wrong idea, but between that Bama defense and uh, Bama starts hot in games. Yes, I know they kind of did not meet expectations last season, but they still won 10 games. That defense was still nice. And Florida State is Florida State. Give me that -3.5 on Bama for the first quarter. But for the whole game, I do like Florida State actually plus 14.5 because, like I said, Bama does bring in a new quarterback, and so does Florida State. Look, they got a dual threat quarterback, and oh man, I'm not going to try to say this man's last name, but he had 2,200 passing yards, 1,100 rushing yards in 2023. And I think he's going to be able to keep this game close, keep it competitive for Florida State. Yeah, and I've been saying this a lot, but I'm seeing some backdoor coverings a lot happening tonight. Not even tonight, just today in general, honestly. And I feel like Florida State's one of those teams that are going to get a backdoor cover. But Bama did only allow 17.4 points last year, and with that in mind, Florida State only averaging 15.4 points last season on the offense end. This just screams under. And I feel like a safe pick is Bama 9.5. This Bama should at least win this game by a touchdown, exactly a touchdown, which is why I give that spread to Florida State. But we're probably going to see a push on that if that does be the case. But I feel like if you want to lock, the lock's Bama 9.5. All right. Next is Temple UMass, and again another game I'm not touching. I don't know if you got to be a true degenerate if you touch this game, or maybe you're seeing something many people aren't seeing. But I don't think a lot of money is going to be flowing on here. And if you do, I see the value kind of on Temple at -2.5. The spread right now is at 1.5. I think Temple could get this done by a field goal. They got some continuity, they got some experience. I feel like that's kind of going to give them the edge here. UMass, whole new team, right? Their quarterback combined for 14 interceptions last season, and that defense was bottom 10 in points allowed. UMass allowed 35 points per game. Temple also allowed 35 points per game, which is why I'm leaning towards the over here. But I still like Temple to actually win this game straight up. That spread shouldn't be that difficult to cover at 1.5. You just got to get it done by a field goal. Again, that's my value pick to at least win by a field goal. So I'm gonna go ahead and give them the spread as well. Defenses are horrible in this matchup. You need the over. Which why you might be wondering why do I see safe bet as the under 53.5? Well, that's because new quarterbacks, new staff. UMass is gonna like to play defensively this game. That's kind of their new defensive coaching staff mindset. I see them trying to dictate the game. They're going to try to slow down the pace. They're going to probably be more run heavy. That offensive line, though, is a little shaky. So will they succeed at that is another thing to be seen. But I feel like they're going to try to chew some clock. Temple might do the same thing here. Give me that under 53.5. I don't see one of these teams really hitting 30 points in this game. Even though both defenses allowed it, I don't see both of these teams hitting 30. Maybe, oh, let's see. I give this Temple 27, UMass 21, 24, and it's kind of how I'm expecting this game to go. Now you got UTSA, Texas A&M, and this Texas A&M team is loaded. Loaded across the board, honestly. Offense, defense, they're just loaded, and they got high expectations going into this season, and because of the way they're loaded on offense and the way UTSA looked on defense. Plus, I mean, don't sleep on UTSA's offense either. They got a pretty good offense. Can they move it on this Texas A&M defense? That's probably not likely. But because I like so big on both offenses, give me that first quarter over 13.5 points. I do like that. I think Texas A&M is going to get this by themselves. I feel like they get two touchdowns. Honestly, I feel like first drive, touchdown, stop, next ball, touchdown again. It's kind of the game script I got in my head. And with that going, I feel like that game script kind of continues for a lot of this game, and I'm gonna lean towards the spread at 23.5, though I feel like that's kind of crazy taking a team to win by three scores when UTSA ain't no slouch offensively. But this A&M team is just loaded, and I feel like their front seven is gonna overwhelm the Roadrunners defense, and not I said that backwards. I feel like the Roadrunners front seven is underwhelming, and it's gonna get overwhelmed by the Texas A&M's front seven. Wow, why can I talk right now? It's 7:45. I have not been asleep yet. So what I'm saying is A&M's offensive line is better than UTSA's defensive line. Okay, bottom line. Bottom line right there. And I'm seeing our production coming from A&M. I feel like they're gonna push the total over by themselves and give me the over 56.5 because I'm seeing this as a very, very fast start A&M team. I feel like the safe bet is that 6.5 cover in the first quarter. I mean, like I said, they're going to start half. Their defense is extremely good. I see them in the first quarter, 14 nothing. We're moving on to LSU and Clemson, and again, this is going to be a good game where kind of like LSU to pull this one out, even though Clemson's loaded with NFL talent across the board, and we know LSU cannot win in game ones, but I'm not gonna take them to actually win this straight up. That's crazy. That's crazy. I don't see that as good value. I see the value actually on Clemson team total under 29.5. I feel like this is gonna be a defensive game. Look, both of these teams are LSU at one point was D-back U, right? Clemson Clemson likes to go fast paced. They're gonna try to throw the ball, and I feel like a lot of people are actually sleeping on LSU's defense here. They produced what was it? They got a yeah, Malachi Nelson's getting his first career start against the Aggies. I guess, yeah, and it's just the way I see it going. And I don't think Clemson is going to get over 30. I don't see neither team actually getting over 30 here. I feel like it's going to be a relatively low, close scoring game. Um, give me that. Oh wow, that Malachi Nelson comment. I was reading my notes for UTEP versus Utah State. Like again, it is 7:47. I have not been asleep yet. I'm extremely tired. Let's get back to on track for LSU and Clemson here. So LSU's defense gave up just 15.3 points per game last season, and this is a front deep seven. This is a deep front seven for LSU right here. They're probably one of the deepest, honestly, in all of college football. But they're gonna be able to get the job done and keep Clemson under 30 points, which I don't see neither team getting under over 30 here. The spread, I'm gonna lean towards LSU +4, you know. Again, I feel like this is gonna be at least a field goal game. You got Gary News, and I cannot pronounce these last names, but Garrett over there got 4,043 yards, 29 touchdowns. He's battle tested. Brian Kelly's 3-0, you know. Uh, give me oh, Brian Kelly's actually not 3-0. Let's see. I'm getting tired. But again, give me LSU +4. I feel like this is gonna be a field goal game. Neither team going over 30 points. Give me that under 57.5, and also give me the under 62.5 as a safe play. Man, this is getting rough as we get through this last game though. Maybe I can finally lay down and go to sleep. This last game is Utah State versus UTEP. Now we're gonna talk about Nelson's first career start. Defense that produced 36 sacks last year. That's tough. Give me UTEP under 26.5. Spread wise, I'm gonna lean Utah State 6.5. I feel like new coach Mendenhall plus that quarterback. I feel like they're able to steady the ship, at least get it done by a touchdown at home. I feel like it's totally plausible. UTEP was not that great on defense, and they also weren't that great offensively. Total, and because of that, I'm going for total under 60.5. I don't feel like neither of these teams are going to push over 60, push over 30 themselves. Give me that under. And then for the safe bet, give me the Aggies at home. First half. Cover the money line spread. Plain and simple on the safe one. I feel like, being at home, they're able to get that done. Whew. Man, if y'all bared with me through that, especially on those late games where it got really tough and start stumbling over my notes because being tired. But hey, we made it through this, and hopefully we make it through this with some more money and this winning record. So yeah, good luck. Let me know in the comments where you guys betting. How you feeling.